All right, guys, let's get through this practice test to see what we got here. The first three are just graphing your sine, cosine, and tangent, just your basic graphs. Sine, don't forget that gesture there. Sine starts at 0, goes up, down, up. Stops at 2 pi, so there's 2 pi, there's pi. Amplitude is 1 on these. And so I'm just going to start here, go up, down, up. And there's your sine graph. Number 2 is cosine. Same type thing, except remember the gesture we did for cosine. Still going to 2 pi and 1 pi. 1, -1 is the amplitude. Cosine starts at 1, goes down, up. Remember, it does keep on going forever and ever. One cycle, one period is all we need for today. Tangent. Tangent graph, remember, has asymptotes. The tangent graphs between the asymptotes. The asymptotes for tangent occur all the pi over 2's. Pi over 2, negative pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2. They just, all the pi over 2's. So there's the asymptotes. Crosses the x-axis halfway between the asymptotes. Also, a pi over 4, negative pi over 4. A pi over 4, the value is 1. Negative pi over 4 is -1. And the tangent graph looks like that. All right, number 4, cosine negative x. Remember we talked about cosine of a negative x. You can actually just drop the x. So it's really the same thing as just y equals cosine x. So this graph is going to look just like number 1 did, right? Because the negative x, you can just drop it if it's cosine. Only if it's cosine. If it's sine negative x, remember the negative goes in the front. You're going to reflect that graph over the x-axis. Sine of x plus pi, that has a phase shift of negative pi. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to actually start the graph at negative pi. That's the phase shift's been shifted left pi. The period is 2 pi. So if you go 2 pi away from 1 pi, you're at, -1 pi. It takes you to +1 pi. Halfway between there is the y-axis. That's going to be my second tick. So negative pi over 2, positive pi over 2. There's my 4. That's 1. There's -1. Sine, remember, starts at 0, goes up, down, up. And there you have sine, x plus pi. And number 6, y equals negative tangent x. Negative in the front reflects across the x-axis. So I'm going to go pi over 2, negative pi over 2. Draw the asymptotes right through there. Asymptotes right through there. And last time I went up right and down left, but because it's been reflected, now it's going to go down left, up right, and there's your negative tangent x. So first 6, just the basic graphs. Once you get to the next 4, it's going to ask you to find all the stuff along with the graphs. So let's start here. The amplitude, it's going to ask you for amplitude, which on this one is just 1. It's going to ask you for period. Period is 2 pi divided by b. Remember, b is the number right in front of the x, the coefficient of the x. That's going to equal pi over 2. That's the period. So when I draw this graph, still going, because there's no phase shift, I'm starting at the y-axis again. And this time, though, my 4th tick is going to be pi over 2. Halfway to pi over 2 is pi over 4. And you can do that just by remembering that the way you take half of a fraction is you take half the top or double the bottom. So I just doubled the 2 there to get the pi over 4. Cosine starts at 1, goes down, up. And there's your cosine. Number 8, same kind of thing. Let's put amplitude. Amplitude is 2. The period is 2 pi because there's a 1 in front of the x. The phase shift, which is, remember, negative c over b, is just going to be negative pi over 1 or negative pi. So come down here. The phase shift, remember, is where you start your graph. So I'm starting my graph at negative pi. The period is how far you go from the start of your graph. So I'm going phase shift plus p. Negative pi plus 2 pi takes me to 1 pi. Not sure why my graph keeps moving. And really, that's the same kind of graph we had up there a minute ago. The y-axis is halfway in between the two, so my 4 ticks are going to look like that. This is a sine graph. The amplitude is 2. Sine starts at 0, goes up, down, up, and there's your sine. Y equals 2 sine x plus pi. Number 9, find the amplitude, period, and phase shift. Amplitude, period, and phase shift. Okay, the amplitude, number in the front, that's 3. Period is 2 pi divided by b. This time it's 2 pi divided by a half. Keep change flip, that's going to turn into 4 pi. The phase shift is the opposite of C over B. So I'm really doing keep, change, flip. Darn it. Not sure why that does that. Sorry about that. Keep, change, flip. Takes it to there. The twos cancel, so it's just pi. All right, so let me make this just a little bit bigger. Okay, so when I graph this one, I actually doesn't say to graph. That's all you have to do, just amplitude, period, and phase shift. I was all ready to graph it. Number 10, same deal, just amplitude, period, and phase shift. The amplitude is 2, remember it is not -2. Amplitude is positive, it's the absolute value of A. The period is 2 pi divided by B. B in this problem is 2, so the period is pi. The phase shift, remember, is the opposite of C over B, so the opposite of negative pi is positive pi over B, which is 2. And there you have it. All right, number 11, it says given that sine is -7/25 and is in quadrant 4, find the other 5. Remember, sine is y over r. Remember, we changed this to cosine. So what I know for sure is that cosecant is reciprocal of sine, so I know that's -25/7. To find the rest of them, I have to find my x. R is the square root of x squared plus y squared. So I'm going to say, okay, r is 25 based on what we have up here. That's going to equal the square root of x squared plus y squared. Y squared is -7. If you square it, it becomes 49. Let's square both sides. That's 625. Over here, the square root just goes away. I'm going to move the 49 to the other side. It becomes 576. If I take the square root, I get plus or minus 24. You've got to decide whether to use the plus or minus. This one says it's in quadrant 4. X is positive in quadrant 4, which means I'm going to use the positive 24, not the negative. So I'm just doing positive 24, which means my cosine x is 24 over 25. My secant is reciprocal of that, 25 over 24. Tangent is y over x. Y was -7, x is 24. Cotangent is reciprocal of that, -24/7. There's the thankful slide again. Okay. Find the exact value of 5 pi over 3. It's cosine 5 pi over 3. Cosine of any pi over 3, remember, drop the top first. The cosine value of any pi over 3 is 1/2. 5 pi over 3, which is really 1 2/3 pi, puts that in quadrant 4. Cosine's positive there. Got the 1/2. Distance. Distance is the big square root, and you do x minus x. So I'm going to do 4 minus -5 and square it. You do y minus y, and you square it. That's going to give me 9 squared, which is 81, plus 2 squared, which is 4. So the distance is square root of 85. You need to break that down if you can. 85 does not break down. The only thing that goes into 85 is 17 and 5. Midpoint. Midpoint, you add your x's and divide by 2. So if I add my -5 and 4, that's -1 divided by 2. Same thing with the y's. Add your y's up. 9 plus 11 is 20. Divided by 2, that's 10. All right, that's midpoint. Pretty easy. Find the equation of the circle. The center of the circle goes inside your parentheses. Remember, it's the opposite. So the -1 becomes x plus 1 squared. The 6, don't forget your plus sign. The 6 becomes y minus 6 squared. You got to find out what r squared is. It tells me here it passes through 3, 9. The reason it passes through, remember, is because it works. So I'm going to plug a 3 right there, and I'm going to plug a 9 right there. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 squared is 16. 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. If you add 16 and 9, you get 25. And there it is. Number 15. It says find f of a minus 1. That just means you need to plug a minus 1 in. You need to substitute it everywhere you see an x. So I'm doing that right now, just substituting it in. Because the first a minus 1 is squared, I'm going to go square, multiply, double, square to work that out. The 5, I'm going to distribute the 5, make it 5a minus 5. The 3 here, can distribute that 3a squared minus 6a plus 3, and I have 5a minus 5. And then just combine what you can. I have a 3a squared, have a -6a and positive 5a, that's -1a, and I got a 3 minus 5, that's -2. So really just plugging in the a minus 1 and working out as far as you can. All right, so the next one, a building casts a 60-foot shadow. There's that shadow problem when the angle of elevation is 50 degrees. So the shadow is on the ground. It's 60. The angle of elevation is 50. Remember, the angle of elevation must touch the horizontal. The building is over here. The building goes straight up. It is x. So That's SOHCAHTOA. I'm doing tangent of 50 degrees equals opposite over adjacent. And because this, first of all, make sure your calculator is in degree mode. Let's multiply 60 times tangent 50. And to be honest, I don't have my calculator here. So the answer is going to be whatever 60 times tangent 50 degrees is, and round to one decimal place. Make sure you punch it in just like that, and make sure you're in degree mode. Okay, 17. Convert 4 pi over 3 to degrees. Don't forget pi is really the same thing as 180 degrees. So I'm just going to put the 180 in where the pi is over 3. Work that out right there. You're going to get 240 degrees. You can just punch that straight in your calculator. And when you go backwards, when you go degrees to radians, you're going to divide by 180 degrees and then put pi in your numerator. So basically, I'm taking this negative 240 over 180, punch it in your calculator. It gives you a decimal. Hit math, change to fraction. Your calculator will tell you this, and then make sure you put the pi with it. I forgot the negative sign, so you don't forget the negative sign. And there you go. All right. I think you got a great chance to do really well. Triple digits even, hopefully, or at least close. All right. And I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be in my room. If you have any questions, come see me. See you. Bye.